After nearly closing in 1989, the Settle and Carlisle line has gone from strength to strength. Although passenger services are still in the hands of second-generation multiple units, freight has seen a lot of changes. For example, this is the new Drax to Kirkby Thor Gypsum train. During March, the Sprinter monopoly was broken when the line was used for diverted West Coast mainline services. As the route is not electrified, diesels had to be hired in. This included preserved Deltic D9000 Royal Scots Grey. In the following shot, trains with a DVT in their formation are London services, whilst the rest are cross-country. On a foggy day in the Midlands, 86417 works an empty mail train from Euston to Warrington. Res 86s will be replaced by 90s in due course because of their higher top speed. Heading for Lindsey Oil Refinery is 37802 with empty fuel tanks from Arpley. Normally in the hands of a 58, the Longport to Bescot Enterprise is instead worked by a 66 and 60. Regarding cross-country services, new units will be introduced in 2001 to replace the stock currently in use. On the 0915 Brighton to Edinburgh, thank you, is 47826. North of Preston, cross-country services are either worked by HSTs or Class 86s. Working the Carlisle to Fiddler's Ferry coal train is 60011, one of only 4 members of the class to receive mainline livery. On the East Coast Main Line, this is the 1403 Low Fell to Plymouth Postal. Look out for the loco at the back. This particular service is top and tailed as far as Doncaster. Slowly crossing the viaduct to the south of the station is the 1210 cross-country service from Bristol Templemeads to Newcastle, one of only 2 diesel-hauled passenger workings in the northeast. A Merrymaker circular trip from London saw the green Southern Region stock hauled by 47635 in original parcels livery.
Passing England's most northerly town is the Flying Scotsman, now just another Class 91 working.
The River Tweed is crossed by the 28-arch Royal Border Bridge. Great North Eastern Railways retain a few HSTs for services beyond the wires, such as this one, the 10:30 King's Cross to Aberdeen. The Tyne Valley Line connects Newcastle to Carlisle, and services are provided by Northern Spirit, formerly Regional Railways North East. Note their new Metro livery applied to this pacer and the signal box straddling the line, a common feature on this route. The line parallels Hadrian's Wall, and some of the stations retain semaphore signalling.
Up to 10 freight services run on this line during the week. 60045 heads a loaded coal train from Ayr bound for Eggborough Power Station.
Next is the Durham coastline.
That was 37379 with an engineer's train heading for Tyne Yard. The most spectacular feature of this route is the 43-arch, half-mile-long Yarm Viaduct. In Northern Spirit's new mainline livery, this 158 is heading for Middlesbrough. If you're in the northeast, make sure you visit Beamish Museum. Set in 300 acres of rolling countryside, it is a working example of what life was like in north of England at the turn of the century. It has to be one of the best days out ever. And now a look at the Newcastle Metro, the first modern light rapid transport system in Britain. Opening in 1980, it involved connecting existing suburban lines to newly constructed underground sections through the city centre. The former station buildings are well maintained. One of the best examples is Tynemouth. The original suburban lines were electrified as long ago as 1904, but in a downward step converted to DMU operation in 1967. The system is very successful and will soon be extended to Sunderland. Newcastle itself is famed for its bridges. A Sunderland train is seen on the High Level Bridge, whilst in the background a coal train crosses King Edward's Bridge. With interconnecting spurs, southbound trains can leave Newcastle in either direction. A popular vantage point is the Castle Keep. Here is another shot of the 10:30 King's Cross to Aberdeen HST. The modern face of postal traction is represented by this 325 unit, working the 1522 Shildmuir to London. As mentioned earlier, there are only 2 diesel-hauled passenger services in the area. This is 47810 arriving with the 1210 from Bristol Temple Meads. A few days later, 47843 is in charge of the 1805 return, giving off plenty of clag. Finally, the area sees many merry-go-round coal workings connecting Scottish collieries to power stations in the Aire Valley and East Midlands. Nowadays, these are usually in the hands of Class 60s, but at the time of our visit, Class 56s, such as this one heading south over King Edward's Bridge, were also used. Rumours continue to circulate regarding the long-term future of these machines.
Introduced in 1976, they were the first new diesel locomotive for 10 years. They incorporated modern electronic technology and were built specifically to work merry-go-round coal trains to and from power stations. EWS's new locomotive policy is seeing them slowly withdrawn from the network due to a shortage of spare parts and expensive repair bills. At the last count, only 79 members of an original class of 135 remain.
Shrewsbury in July. If it's semaphores you like, let alone weeds, then this is the place to be. Here a 158 heads north on the Wrexham line.
Even more semaphores are found on the Wolverhampton line to the south.
The other route from the south is the Welsh Marches line. This is 56032 with the 1725 Cardiff to Moss End Enterprise.
A comparatively new service is the daily through working to Euston. 47575 in original parcels livery brings in the stock to form the 0754 departure. A Class 87 will take over from Birmingham. However, the working that everybody had come to see was the Friday's only 1645 Cardiff to Manchester, here worked by 37424, complete with snowplows. This was part of Wales and West's only loco haul diagram. Apart from the weekly visit to Manchester, it also took in Cardiff, Bristol, Bath and Weymouth, and will feature heavily in this section.
We've moved south to Cardiff. As 66018 heads an empty merry-go-round coal working from Llanwern Steelworks to Grange Sidings, we're about to see the Monday to Thursday part of the Wales and West Loco diagram. This involved a return journey between Bristol and Cardiff, and here 37154 works the 1405 Cardiff to Bristol Temple Meads.
One of the best, but subsequently shortest-lived, livery schemes was applied to Great Western HSTs. As postal services in this region are scheduled to be the first to be worked by Class 67s, Res 47s will also feature heavily in this section. This is the 1425 Swansea to London Mail.
EWS liveried 59201 was transferred to the area to work Llanwern to Port Talbot iron ore trains. A couple of rush hour services to and from Rumney continue to be loco-hauled as seen on last year's tape. However, following Railtrack's objection to using the preserved Class 50, these are now both worked by 37s. In the late evening, 66104 heads another Llanwern to Port Talbot iron ore train. We leave Cardiff as the 1922 Bristol to Swansea Mail heads into the sunset. Back on the route of the Wales and West Loco diagram, this is Newport, where 37154 leaves with the 1130 Bristol to Cardiff. Normally a Class 20 working, DRS liveried 37610 and 612 head the Bridgewater to Sellafield nuclear flask train. Meanwhile, 37154 returns with the 1405 Cardiff to Bristol. Alongside is the branch to Severn Beach, a line whose long-term future is far from certain. Back on the main line, an empty working including Porterbrook vans heads for Lara Depot, Plymouth.
We're now on the outskirts of Bristol. This is 66102 with the Newport to Westbury cement train.
Heading in the opposite direction is the 1244 Plymouth to Shildmuir Postal. (37154) again with the 11:30 Bristol to Cardiff. Bristol also sees plenty of 47 hauled cross-country services. This is the 0636 Wolverhampton to Plymouth. This is the 0821 Paynton to Newcastle cross-country HST. The junction on the left is the Bath line, whilst on the right is Barton Hill Postal Depot. This depot will soon close and post will instead be handled at Bristol Parkway, some distance out of town. At Temple Meads, 37154 arrives with the earlier part of the Wales and West loco diagram, the 0839 from Weymouth. Remember the only diesel-hauled passenger working in the northeast? Here it is at the start of its journey, the 1210 Bristol to Newcastle, hauled by 47851. The station itself also sees a lot of postal activity. Next is the 1509 Plymouth to Low Fell and Warrington. We leave Bristol with 37154 heading the 11:30 Bristol to Cardiff. On to Bath, where 37424 works the Saturdays only 1433 Bristol to Weymouth. During one Saturday in August, the Wales and West diagram was unusually worked by a Class 47. The 47 in question is 742. This is the return working the 1153 Weymouth to Bristol, passing the site of the former junction to Bridport. Just north of Dorchester, 37264 works the diesel portion of the Paddington to Weymouth Dorset Arrow Rail Tour. The only other local hauled workings in this area were two summer Saturday services from Birmingham, and in this instance, Liverpool. As 37424 heads for Weymouth with the 1433 from Bristol, 47829 returns with the 1705 Weymouth to Birmingham up the fearsome 1 in 52 Upway Bank. Finally, 37424 returns with our last shot of the Wales and West Loco diagram, the 1720 Weymouth to Bristol. Sadly, this diagram has now gone over to sprinter operation.